We are live, I think. Hi, guys. Welcome to Solo Club. Welcome to the live stream. If you're joining me live, which normally happens fairly quickly, we start to get people in relatively quickly. Hello. If you're watching this in the future, again, hello. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope these are interesting. I'm sure they are. I was about to say I'm a bit all over the place today, but I think I start all of these live streams by saying that because I do them on Fridays and the weeks are very busy. It's been particularly busy over the last 2 days because I've been traveling in London. The reasons for which I will explain in a moment because they kind of form the basis of what I want to talk about today. Um, as always, guys, I'll do my little thing about a certain topic today, and then we'll turn over to you and get your questions. And as always, I always say this, but it's true. This live stream always comes alive when you ask questions. It's far more interesting than me sitting here waffling on. I'm so British about this, aren't I? Yeah, don't listen to me. I'm not that interesting. Hopefully, I am interesting. But I told you I was all over the place. But I do personally find that, as I say, these live streams are far more interesting when you get involved. So I'm not looking at the comments section at the moment. I'm not looking at the chat window because I don't want to be distracted. But please use it. Please fill it with questions, and it can be questions about the stuff that I'm about to talk about, which will hopefully raise questions, or it can be anything you've wanted to ask me about this business. And occasionally, I get asked questions about tech, and I don't mind that occasionally. But this channel is purely about this business. It's about the business of content creation and doing this thing for a living. So if we can try and keep the questions to that, I've got lots of thoughts on MacBook Pros and iPhones and things, but you hear enough of that on Marcellus reviews, surely. So yeah, let's keep them as much as we can content creator related. But I do take a few personal questions as well. So if you want to ask me what my favorite color is or my favorite film, I'll give you an answer. Right, very quick bit of housekeeping and a quick reminder actually that the Creator Academy, which kicks off at the end of January. So we've set a date for this now. The first module, I was going to say lesson. I hate saying lesson because it sounds so schoolish and teacherish, doesn't it? But let's say the first module will drop for members of the academy on the 29th of January, which is a Monday. It's a little way off. We're a good sort of couple of months away from that, which means there's loads of time to get signed up and jump on board. People are starting to do that, which is fantastic. We have the existing Medium Academy guys who signed up to the Medium Academy over a year ago now. They get instant access to the Academy. That's part of the deal of them being the first Academy members. So we've got a nice little group so far, but I'd like it to be much bigger. And I genuinely think this is a fantastic opportunity to find out how this business works. I talk a lot about how this business works on these live streams and in my Substack newsletter, but the Academy will go much deeper than that, and I'll be much more. I am open, obviously, on these live streams, but I do hold a fair bit of stuff back because I want to keep it for the Academy, basically. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I'd much rather put it into a more structured kind of learning package, really. So I think this is, I'm going to say this, aren't I? I think it's a fantastic opportunity if you want to follow in my footsteps, or if you just want to create something on the side and have that side hustle thing going on, then yeah, check out the Academy. There's a link below. We have worked on the pricing insofar as you can now split it up into I think it's four monthly payments if you want to kind of spread the cost. But equally, I think it's a fantastic deal. So I'll stop doing the sales pitch now and let you go and check that out and get straight into today's topic after a very quick slurp of coffee because I do need it. It's like I say, it's been a very long couple of days. So what I want to talk about today is maximizing your time out on the road as a content creator. And the reason I want to talk about this, I suppose what sparked it really was a press event that I went to this week. So I get invited to quite a lot of these now. And there's quite a few coming up over the next few weeks and into January. And they're brilliant. They're a great opportunity to go out with a brand and see products before they're launched, or just to do things with that brand to, kind of work that partnership, basically, to kind of get in with them as much as possible in the hope that you will get access or kind of prior access to products before they're launched, which means that you can deliver reviews much quicker. And yeah, it's a great thing all round. And what a lot of these brands do occasionally is a kind of they're not product launches, but they're events that are tied to products and they kind of link the product to something else to make it an event and get people in a room to hopefully talk about it and tweet about it and or Instagram about it and make videos and amplify the message about the product in question. And Samsung did that this week. They did an event in East London at a place called the Flip. I need to get this right. The Flip Park, I think it's called, which is basically a kind of it's an outdoor skateboarding venue, which is really cool. Actually, it's in the kind of like I said, the eastern part of London. Um, and it's a very cool area anyway. But it's certainly what they've done with it is really really interesting. So it looks like a pop up. I don't think it is. It looks like a pop up venue for skateboarding, but it's actually permanent. I think what is slightly less permanent is all of the Samsung stuff around it, because, like I say, this week they tied a event about the Flip 5, which is, if I can get it out of my pocket, I think I've still got it. Hopefully, is this phone here? It's the one that flips open like that. They've tied the fact that this flips open and it's called the Flip with skateboarding, which obviously, if you're a skateboarder, you do flips and stuff. I'm not a skateboarder. I've not used a skateboard since I was about 10 years old. But I know lots of people do it for a living and love it still. So that's the kind of fairly tenuous link between the product and the event. And I got an invite to it for last night. It was an evening thing. It was in London, like I say. I don't live in London. For those of you who aren't aware, it may seem like I live in London. I do so much content down there. But if you're not aware, I live in Warwickshire, which is on the train about an hour and a half away from London. So it's not particularly far. But what this means is that it's a bit of a head scratcher because you get this invite from Samsung, and the invite is basically come along on the whatever date it was, the 30th of November, to East London to check out this opening of this Flip Park place, where we'd like to kind of show you the park, but also talk about the Flip 5. And that's the invite basically. They don't pay for it, so there's no in terms of that invite, I don't get my train fare paid for. I don't get any hotel or subsistence paid for. You just turn up, basically. So, and that's not always the case. With some press trips, you do get everything paid for. You get shipped out. They feed you. They water you. They ship you back. You don't spend a penny. These kind of events aren't like that. This isn't a moan, by the way. It's just the way it works. So, from my perspective, because I don't live in London, I have to weigh up the benefits of going to this thing. So I've got to get a train. I've got to feed and water myself, obviously. And because it was an evening thing, it started at 6 o'clock until late. It made sense to stay over because rushing back later on is horrible. In terms of getting a train, the last train, and it's just no. You need to get a room. So you've got travel and subsistence, accommodation. And also, the bigger cost really is your time away from the business. So when I'm out there doing those things, I'm not in this room creating content. So it is a bit of a head scratcher as a business owner because you're looking at that and thinking, okay, this is going to cost. If we add all those things together, apart from my time, you're talking over 200 quid, probably £200, a little bit more for those bits and pieces that you need to get there and stay there and make sure you can eat and drink. So that's not going to break the bank, but it's an amount of money that needs to be accounted for. And then you have to try and work out if that £200 you're spending is worth it for attending that event that Samsung has put on. Now, immediately it is, because it's Samsung, it's a big brand. My main, the main channel, the Marketplace Reviews channel, is all about reviewing the latest tech and hopefully reviewing tech from big brands. Apple, Samsung, Google, etc. Anything that those brands do, if I get invited to something by those brands, it's an absolute no-brainer. You go and do it, partly because it's fun, but also because, as I mentioned earlier, you're kind of massaging that partnership. You're showing your face, you're meeting people at the brand, you're making connections, you're meeting other creators as well. I've made some of the best creator friendships I've made in the last 3.5 years at these events, and so it's an absolute no-brainer. But when there's cost involved, for me as a business owner, it's not enough just to go to that event. If I just went to that event and spent the rest of the time swanning around London and sightseeing and shopping or whatever, that makes me feel incredibly nervous. Makes me feel horrible because it's not a holiday. This is a job, and it is the best job in the world. It's nothing like the sort of job where you get in the car in the morning and drive somewhere and you don't want to be going there. You got to deal with people that you don't particularly like. You got customers you don't particularly like either, and you just it's not that. It's not the coal mines. I'm not going to war or anything. It's none of those things. It's the best job in the world, but it is a job, and I don't want to go out on jollies, basically. A jolly, if you don't use that terminology yourself, a jolly basically means you leave the office for a day. You might do a little bit of work, but the majority of your time spent away from the office is just having fun. Again, nothing wrong with that at all. And occasionally, why not go for it? But at a time like this, when the business is growing, I'm investing a lot in the business, and it's very busy. There's lots of stuff to be doing anyway. I can't afford 2 days away from the studio just to spend 3 or 4 hours at a Samsung event, even though it's a no-brainer. So the question you've probably got now is, what do you do? How do you fill that time? And I'd love to know if there, I've not checked yet, but if anyone is watching this who is already a content creator and is doing the same thing as me, either full-time or part-time or whatever, I'd love to know if you do the same thing when you go to these events, because I have to do this. I think I've done this for pretty much every or most events I've been to over the last 2 years. I've done this thing. And what this thing is while I'm there, using the additional time that I have, so that there's kind of slack around the event, if you like, to film videos, to create content, and also to spend time writing and doing the blogging, all the normal stuff. But the bulk of that time I want to spend being creative with a camera. So what I've done over the last 2 days, I went to London yesterday morning, and as I say, the Samsung event was that evening. But I had this big stretch of time between about midday and 6 p.m. where I could quite easily go and, like I say, go on a shopping spree or go sightseeing throughout London. What I did instead was walk from Marylebone station to where this event was and where my hotel was, which is about a 2-hour walk roughly. So I was going from kind of north-ish London, just above the river, across to the east, and ending up at the right venue. And the reason I did that, I mean, partly it's a nice walk, but the other reason I did that is because I knew that if I did that walk for 2 hours, I can film some content. I can do a vlog style video. And I had one video in mind that I was going to do for that, which was a solo club video for this channel, about why creators should have a newsletter. Now, there's no reason that I need to do that in this studio, and I quite like getting out there. You may have seen on a lot of my videos over the last few weeks, the last few months, really. I do a lot of them in here, but a lot of them are also out and about. And quite often, if you see me out and about filming in a field or filming in a city somewhere, I'm probably there for a brand. There's probably something going on where that evening I've got a brand event to go to. And that was the case yesterday. So I walked this 2-hour journey, which was lovely. It was a lovely day. No, absolutely freezing cold, which isn't much fun when you're filming yourself because you can't really wear gloves. So you've got your hands exposed. So it was a very, very cold, but very beautiful day. And it was a lovely walk. And I filmed, like, as I say, during that 2 hours, I filmed the A-roll for that solo club video. Done. Brilliant. Finished it, got to the hotel, sent the footage to Niall, my general manager, who does the editing for most solo club videos, in fact, all solo club videos. Done. Tick the box. And that made me feel so much better because I hadn't, in my mind, wasted that time, that time between midday and 6 p.m. I'd invested into content for this channel. Now, I went to the event that evening, got back to the hotel, had some food, went to bed. You don't need to know that, but that's what happens generally speaking. But I knew then that I had the exact same challenge or the same thing the next day because I had to get from my hotel back to Marylebone and come back to this studio. And I'd booked the train for, I think, midday or something today to get back here, back to Leamington. And so I did the same thing. I walked from the hotel back to Marylebone. I went a slightly different way to make it a bit more interesting. And on the way, during that journey, I filmed a Mark Ellis reviews video. So I'd started this video in particular. It was for a pair of earbuds. It's the JBL Tour Pro 2. This video, excuse me, will go live on Sunday if you're interested. I started the filming for that, the A-roll filming in here a couple of days ago, and then I kind of said at the end of that part of the filming, let's go to London. And then the idea being I switched from here to being in London. So I basically this morning have walked the exact same distance, not the same route, but the same distance, and again, filmed myself, filmed the A-roll for this JBL video, and finished it, got it done. It's all ready. It's all ready in the can. It's ready to be edited, and it will be done for Sunday. Now, if I hadn't done that, I would have been rushing around today, or probably tomorrow morning, being Saturday, filming the A-roll for that video for Sunday, and that's no fun. And the reason I would have had to do that is because I would have wasted, in my view, wasted the time in London when I could have just picked up a camera or taken a camera with me and gone for it. Now there's a couple of things to bear in mind with this that make this possible. It's not quite as easy as it might sound. It's not quite as easy as just walking down the road talking to yourself. You have to be really organized with this to make this work. And I've talked about this before on these live streams. I've talked about it before in certain videos, that I have bulletproof processes. I'm really boring about process because I know that if you have a good process and you don't keep changing it and fiddling with it, it will make you more productive, and it will mean you can smash through content efficiently, productively, and do it to a very good standard. That is how I can do this. And the way that I do that, firstly, is the gear. The gear that you use for vlogging is absolutely essential. You do not want to be messing around with camera settings and stuff and audio stuff. You just want to hit a button and record. And I've got two different setups, which I have talked about before. One of them is an action cam setup where I use a DJI Osmo Action 4 in conjunction with the DJI mics that you see loads of people using, which kind of attach to your top here. That's a brilliant little setup, very inconspicuous, very durable because it's an action cam, obviously. The only problem with that one is that you don't get the same level of quality with the image that you do with a bigger camera and a bigger dedicated lens. And for this video, these two videos, I wanted to have that level of quality. So that gives me, the option I have for that is my second setup, which is, I think I've talked about this before. It's this. It's not this lens, by the way. This isn't the lens. The lens is the one that I'm using here, so I can't really show you, obviously, but it's a Sigma 16 to 28 mil 2.8 lens. So that lens that you're looking at me through now is attached to the Sony ZV-1, which I had on loan for a few weeks a little while back. It went back to Sony, and I really missed it, massively missed it, to the point where I just bought one. So I bought one this week, and it's an amazing vlogging camera. This is basically a full frame FX3, which is my main camera in here, but in a tiny, tiny body. It's amazing. And this mic, which is the Sony shotgun mic, they do a few versions of this. I can't remember which one this is, but this is the one that I've been using. I've had a few issues with this, with wind noise and stuff, but I've learned, and I've kind of stopped filming where it's windy. I kind of wait for things to quieten down a bit. But the great thing about this, there's no batteries. You just pop it on like I have done there, and there's no turning anything on. You just hit record and it just works. Everything works. You've got one file with your audio and your video done. And I've set the camera to film in S-Cinetone, so it's got a color profile built into it, so we don't really have to do any color grading. Take it out of the camera, edit it, publish it, done. It's really, really efficient. And because it's quite a small setup, it's fairly inconspicuous as well, which is amazing. So the gear is absolutely essential with this. I didn't have the time yesterday or this morning to mess around with cameras or have problems with it, which is why I use good gear. It's why it's worth investing in good gear that you can rely on. Shouldn't say that, but I will. Sony gear, touch wood, is unbelievably reliable. These things are built like tanks. So the gear is really important. And the other thing that's important is all the prep beforehand. So I don't kind of go out there without any kind of idea or very little idea of what I need to say. Excuse me, what I need to say. I plan these videos out like I do all my videos. So the solo club one that I filmed yesterday, I had a whole bunch of the outline was all kind of put into Notion. I have tick boxes against each one, so as I go through the day and do each part, I can tick them off so I know where I am. Because quite often you'll film the start of a section in one location and then walk somewhere else and continue it elsewhere to make it look interesting. If you forget what you did last, half an hour ago or an hour ago, you're in trouble. So I'm very organized with that, and I literally just work through it as a to-do list, which is just for me is a brilliant way of doing it. And then when it's done, upload everything to Dropbox, upload all that footage to Dropbox. If it's a solo club video, Niall takes it over, he does his edit, done. Or if it's me doing it, I just offload the footage to the laptop and then crack on with it when I get back to the studio, or potentially do some of it in the hotel room. So I can shoot fast, we can edit fast, and we can just bash through that process like no man's business, and that makes that kind of shooting possible. Basically, if we didn't have those processes in place, it wouldn't be. It would be a nightmare. So I talk a lot about processes. Like I say, I'm very boring about it. Um, but the point being with all this is that I've spent 2 days in London with a tiny part of it, really, comparatively, being devoted to the main reason that I went there, which was this Samsung event. So I ticked that off. Met the people I wanted to meet, got some content out of it, did the whole schmoozing bit, done, brilliant, tick that box. But I also created 2 videos while I was down there as well, and it doesn't feel like it's been, although it's been a long couple of days, I've got a lot of work done. I'm not exhausted by it. Again, because of those processes, because of the gear that I'm using, I can rely on, and because I've got experience doing this, which does help, obviously. But all those things combined have made it a fairly unstressful couple of days, but a very productive couple of days. And if we go right back to the question that I had at the start of this for myself, which was, is spending that 200 quid on this visit worth it? Well, now 100%, 100% worth it. Neither of those videos are sponsored, but that doesn't matter because I'm creating content that's going onto these channels, and we'll earn some stuff on AdSense, which is fantastic. But the business has ticked along. It's carried on. It's still moving and making stuff despite me not being in the studio. So 100% worth it. And if you want to get into this and you want to do this kind of vlog style stuff, or you want to at least maximize the time you have, no matter where you are, that is how you do it. And I'll never stop doing it. Like I say, I'd love to know, as I mentioned earlier, if you're watching this, if you are a content creator, and you're someone who, like myself, gets invited to press events and stuff, do you spend your extracurricular time making content? I'd love to know. I think it's the right way to do it. That there may be other ways to do it, and sometimes maybe I should just have a day off. I love working. I love doing this stuff. I don't want to. I'd feel terrible just sightseeing, because I'd be thinking, I should be making some content. I should be getting stuff done. So that was my preamble, guys. Looks like we've got a few questions. We've got quite a few people on the live stream, so welcome aboard, everyone. Let me just grab some water. That's better. Happy Friday, everyone. Who have we got on? Let's have a look. I've lost my mouse. This is really annoying. So Apple, very quick. I know I said at the start of this, we don't tend to do tech stuff on here, but I'm going to have a quick moan. So I have my MacBook Pro here, which is running all this entire live stream. And then over there, I have an M2 Pro Mac Mini. And if you're not aware, if you have more than one Apple device, they've done this really clever thing where you can move your mouse pointer to your iPad or to another Mac next to you. The problem with that is that if the Mac that it keeps moving to is over there somewhere, and you don't realize that feature has been turned on, you lose your mouse pointer. So if the mouse pointer is now over there, it's on the display over there. Very clever, Tim, but really annoying sometimes. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant. Loads and loads of familiar faces, including the Fish Finger Reaper, which is still one of my favorite names on here of all time. Let's dive in. Callum's on. Callum is your man for anything Solo Club related, anything Academy related. He's the man behind the scenes, pulling the strings and doing all the stuff, and putting up with me as well. So he's your man. I'm not that annoying, but I can't. I probably don't ask him that. I am annoying sometimes, but he deals with it very well. So he's your man to ask for the Academy stuff and everything related to that. I love this comment. Sorry, I just had to pick this one out. David, sorry I was late. I was getting to grips with some .rar files. RAR files take me back about 25 years. I used to deal with RAR files. What was the RAR files are they're compressed files, aren't they, from memory? And yeah, me and my mates, when we used to swap games and stuff, we used to use RAR files. That was probably completely illegal. Who cares? Are the police watching this? Probably not. Would they care about that? Swapping Sensible World of Soccer or something in 1995? Probably not. But I just love that comment. That's brilliant. That's made my day because I'm an absolute geek. Kevin's here from Lakeland, Florida. Massively jealous of that, Kevin. Although I am going to Dubai in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be warm. And bearing in mind, it's like 2 degrees, no, 1 degree now in the UK, and horribly cold. I can't wait for that. Still isn't Florida. Still very jealous about that. Maybe I should just come out one day, Kevin. Andrew, what's the one thing you wish someone had told you before you started making videos that would have changed how you started out? I think. Let me think about this. What's the one thing I wish someone had told me before starting? Lots of stuff. Probably the main thing. It's what I've talked about today, really. It's the importance of reliable gear and process. I think if I'd known that right at the start, and I've always been fairly kind of obsessed with processes, but I've got more and more obsessed with them as time has gone on in this business. And I think if someone had told me that don't keep messing around with your gear, don't keep changing things, or don't experiment with really cheap gear, which I did do. I've done that a lot in my career, actually. You very quickly realise that you have to spend decent money on stuff, because spend what's that phrase? When you spend very little, you spend twice. Whatever it is, someone will point. You know what I'm saying? Invest properly in gear. That would have been quite nice to know that right at the start. As with the process thing, really. Um, there's nothing in particular, really, Andrew. I think, like anything in life, when you get into doing something and you experience some success, I could probably say everything about the business I'd love to have known back then. But then, if I knew everything and I went into it, I don't think I'd have been successful, if that makes sense. I think you need to learn this stuff. I think you need to break things. I think it's very important. Great question, though. David, do you take your girlfriend to the London events? If so, then there is an added cost of someone to look after your son while you're away. Very good question, David. No, I don't take her with me because she's too busy. She's studying to become an acupuncturist, which is a 3-year degree in Chinese medicine, so it's incredibly involved. So yeah, she doesn't come out, David, unfortunately. It'd be nice if she did, although I say that if she'd been with me over the last 2 days, it's very much a solitary thing, this. I mean, obviously you go to these events and you meet people, and that's great. But the time outside of that, when I'm going around these cities creating content, I need to be on my own. I don't have someone filming me. I wouldn't want someone filming me. I feel much better doing it by myself. But it's a very solitary thing, and I wouldn't be much fun to be with, put it that way. I know, she could go off and do her own thing, obviously, but yeah, it's then questionable whether or not it's worth it, really, particularly with a young son at home. So yeah, she's either looking after Harrison, bless him, or she's studying, as she was today. So, but that's true. I mean, I do know other creators who do take their other halves with them, and that's another cost. Absolutely, and it's a cost if you do have kids. You have to then factor in childcare, which is astronomically expensive. All that stuff has to be thought about. And I think, again, because I'm a business owner, I've been a business owner for a long time, and I've worked at board level in a previous business. I understand this stuff, and I think about costs all the time. It's what makes me do these things. It's what makes me maximize that time out on the road. Because if I'd spent that 200 plus, and it would be more than 200 quid if you factor in my time, obviously. If I hadn't done the stuff that I did over the last 2 days, I'd have come back today feeling a bit unfulfilled and worried that I've wasted time. So, but yeah, she doesn't get to come with me at the moment. We're hoping that some of the kind of future events where our son's he's a bit older, that we can do some stuff together. I'm hoping that this business does take me to some amazing places, and I want to share that with my family, but it's just not the right time at the moment. Callum, how do you consciously remember to record content while on the go? I'm sure you get to focus on the events. Live throughout the day. Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I mean, again, consciously remembering to film the content. Like, as I say, it's very structured. So I'll have, for instance, if I take um, the solo club video that I shot yesterday, that had 5 or 6 sections to be filmed, and I just needed to find interesting locations to do it each time, because that video in particular is all A roll. There's no B roll at all. It's just me talking to the camera. And what's nice about doing that away from the studio and in a city or somewhere else, is that you've got this canvas of backdrops and stuff that you can choose where you, obviously within reason. You can't film in places where you're not allowed to film. I have been told off for that in the past. So as long as you're doing it legally, you can film wherever you like and you can make it look interesting. But yeah, it's very structured. It's film that bit, done, right. Half an hour passes, I find that's an interesting park bench, or like today, so I had some really interesting areas with like really interesting graffiti and stuff. So I did a piece there, and so yeah. And when it comes to transitional stuff, where you're perhaps traveling, so you're going onto a train, or you're walking down the road, or you're walking past a landmark or whatever, it's just grabbing that B-roll, just getting the camera and shooting away. Comes with experience again, and I've never left without enough footage, basically. But I think this is what you mean. Focusing on the events and life throughout the day. I do take it in. I do take it in as much as I can. I mean, I'm very familiar with London because I spend a lot of time down there, but I still find parts of London that I've not seen before. Like I did this. I hadn't spent much time in East London, so it was nice to get a feel for that area, which is a really interesting area. So yeah, you have to. It's that balance of taking it in and getting the footage. It's nothing like a sightseeing trip. It's very different to a sightseeing trip, but you have to balance the two, which is it's important to experience these things as well. Martin, isn't it? Martin, I hope I got your name right there. I think you should view these events as expenses, but necessary to grow your business, but also to meet people who will take you further. I always try to speak to at least 3 people I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're expenses. I don't see it as a it's not really an overhead. It's not like if you're paying the electricity bill here is an overhead, a necessary overhead. I think it's more of an expense going out there, and it's what you do with that expense. How do you make it's a bit like buying a new camera. What are you going to do with the money you spend on that camera? How are you going to make it worth it? If I'm spending 200, 300, 400, 500 pounds on a trip somewhere, how do I make that money worth it? And that's what I've done over the last 2 days, really. And that thing about speaking to at least 3 people, is a great thing. I didn't do a lot of that yesterday, actually. I failed a little bit at the networking thing. I met my main contact at Samsung, which was nice, or the PR company for Samsung. That was, again, a box tick. It was lovely to speak to her. But I didn't do much else. I just kind of took in the event, got the content I needed for some social posts, and it was so cold. I had to leave in the end because it wasn't Samsung's fault, but it was an outdoor venue and it was bitterly cold. I had to leave in the end because I thought I need to go somewhere warm. But I'd done enough, basically. I'd done enough at that point. David, the London Underground has its attractions, saves walking. It does, yeah. I use the tube all the time. I didn't use it once though over the last 2 days, and actually it was a nice break from the tube. I don't mind the tube at all. I can make my way around it quite easily, but it gives you some interesting filming options for B-roll and stuff. But it was nice. The last 2 days just to walk those 2 distances was great. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a very again great for your health. I'm very much into my health and fitness, and it was a nice kind of change from the gym as well. But yeah, the underground will get you everywhere, obviously, and it's a good way to see the city. I've lost my mouse pointer again. Look, this is what I mean. Where is it? I've literally just lost my mouse pointer. Oh, there it is. It's come back. David says, "Fail to plan to fail" comes to mind. I agree with you. An organised mind is good. It really is. Yeah. I mean, I've done the other way around. Trust me, I've failed to plan, and it's horrendous. I think during the early days of doing this job, I went out and I thought I'd go out and do some vlogging and all that sort of stuff, and just wasn't planned for it. Wasn't I wasn't prepared for it at all, and it's a horrible experience because you don't know where you are with the filming. You're rushing around trying to find places. It helps if you've got a rough idea of the location you're going to. If you don't, you just need to know what to look out for, and what to be wary of. So be wary of places where you potentially aren't allowed to film. If there's security guards everywhere, don't film there. And equally, looking not filming on very busy streets where you might have issues with the audio, and not worrying about stopping and starting. If you're halfway through something and then a siren goes blaring past, doesn't matter. Start again. Yeah, I agree though. Always plan ahead. Fish Finger Reaper. You looked at the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 camera for out and about. Small and still great quality, I've heard. I've not checked it out yet, but I think it looks amazing. This is the handheld thing with the gimbal on the top of it and built-in mic and stuff and little screen. I've never used an Osmo Pocket at all. I've not used the 2 or the 1. But the footage I've seen of the 3, I've seen someone compare it with a Sony A7S III, and they're indistinguishable in terms of the quality of that 4K footage, and it's so small. It looks so perfect for vlogging, and very stable, obviously, because it's got the gimbal built into it. So at some point I might check it out. But having said that, and going back to what I said a moment ago, listening to my own advice, really, I've got 2 fantastic vlogging setups now: the Action Cam 1 and the full frame ZVE 1. Yeah, this one. It's I won't fiddle with this now. I'm happy because I know it works. But that is a great option for anyone that is looking at it. Would love to see a what's in your backpack when you're out and about these days. Yeah, I'll be doing that, funny enough, in Vegas. So in January, if you're not aware, there's CES in Vegas, which is the world's biggest consumer electronics show. That's literally what it's called. That's what CES stands for. And I'm going out there. A bunch of other creators are going out there as well. Some of my good friends in this industry, including Patrick Rambles. And we are going to do a collaboration while we're there. We did one while I was in his country back in, when was it? Little while ago, earlier this year, for his channel, but we're going to do the same thing for my channel, and it is going to be this kind of what's in my CES backpack, which will actually be pretty much what I use to do this vlogging anyway. So you will see that, Callum, next in January. Do you buy holiday or work? It's work. I don't think I can mention who it's with at the minute, but all will be revealed. I definitely can't mention it because it's under embargo. But yeah, it's a brand which is taking a whole bunch of press and creators out to Dubai for a few days, and I've never been to Dubai actually. I'm very much looking forward to it. So that's that's happening in a couple of weeks. Do you visit London much? Yes, as I mentioned a moment ago, actually, yeah, I do. I visit a lot. I've always loved London. It is my favourite city. It's not because I'm British. I just, something about London I absolutely love. I know it very well, and I've never been to London as much as I have been in the last 12, 18 months. Going there again next week for a CES pre-briefing with a brand, and it's near enough to not being a problem to get to relatively easily, and it's great for content. It's brilliant for creating content, and just having, like I say, having that kind of canvas of different places to film A-roll. Anyway, what other questions have we got here? Keep the questions coming, guys. These are brilliant questions. What's the best place for the dirtiest burger? I don't know, actually. I fancy having a dirty burger tonight, actually. The best one in Leamington is probably Libertine Burger. If you ever come to Leamington, get a Libertine Burger. I think it is a chain. You can get them elsewhere. There's loads of places in London. I had peri peri chicken last night from a very unassuming takeaway place. Didn't look. It was one of those places you walk in and think, is this going to be okay? It was the best peri peri chicken I've ever had in my life. Much better than the big name one. And yeah, that was amazing. That was very, very much needed after like 15 kilometers of walking. Great question. Hi, Martin. Glad you can make it. Off the floor, your response to the question about the dirtiest burger off the floor at McDonald's. I guess so. I don't think that's what he meant, but I would have to agree with that. Here we go. David, days away should be viewed as an investment. Yeah, sorry, investment's the right word. Expense was the wrong word. Sorry, it's Friday. It's absolutely an investment. Expense, and whatever. It's an investment in the business. It's an investment in, firstly, in the content, because I created content while I was out there, but it's an investment in that partnership with Samsung. Completely agree. That was the wrong word to use. Long-term benefits are better for your business than short-term interests. completely agree. I think also it's worth cutting out as many short-term interests in this business as possible, as in a creator business. That's something I've been doing over the last 12 months, really. There's been lots of kind of short-term things I've kind of worked on, or brands I've tried to work with, or I've said yes to too many products which are a bit too niche and probably have a very short shelf life. I'm now focusing on things which seem to, I think, have a longer shelf life. So yeah, investment was the word I should have used, David. You are completely right. I see all this stuff as investment. Everything that comes into the business is an investment. I think one thing that a lot of people on the Marketers Reviews channel don't always fully appreciate, and they seem to get a bit confused by, is buying Macs. What I've had several people over the last few years say to me, "Why have you got so many Macs? Why have you got this, that, and the other?" And I have to explain that they're all investments. They all get used to a degree, not as much as a normal person would, who buys a Mac and uses it constantly. It's their only Mac they've got. When you've got 3, 4, 5 Macs, you kind of flip between a lot of them. But all of them, even the ones where I haven't invested a lot of time in them, they have paid back massively because I've bought them strategically. And a great example of that is the 24-inch iMac, the M1, which I bought when it was first released. What was it? Nearly 2 years ago, whatever it was. That hasn't been used a lot in the business, so it hasn't been put to a huge amount of use productively. But the content I've made about it and the way that content has performed, and the return in terms of audience growth, most importantly, but also AdSense revenue, working with sponsors that have been featured on videos featuring that iMac, it's paid back again and again and again and again. And it's why I've kept it. It's why it's still in the studio. Jakob says, "Am I still using Final Cut Pro, or did you finally discover a Premiere Pro?" I'm aware of Premiere Pro, so I discovered Premiere Pro, I suppose, as it being a thing a long time ago. I've never used it though, and there's two reasons I haven't switched to it. One of them is because Final Cut Pro, I just know it like the back of my hand. It's just I can, again, coming back to the process thing, I can edit a video so quickly in Final Cut Pro. If I change my editing software, I'm back to square one, and that will slow things down. There's no need I've got no reason to at all. From a curiosity point of view, yeah, I'd be interested to see what it's like. But with my business head on, it makes no sense at all. It would be an absolute disaster. The second reason I haven't bothered to look at Premiere Pro is because I don't know any Premiere Pro. I'm going to get some flack for this. Any Premiere Pro user who I've actually met and spoken to, or seen talk about it on YouTube, who doesn't moan about it all the time because it's always crashing. They're losing their work. It's slow. It's buggy. It doesn't work with the latest Mac chips. No, I don't think I've ever met or seen a happy Premiere user. Most of them tend to go to DaVinci Resolve, which is the other option. But no, I'm still Final Cut Pro, and I will be for the foreseeable future. I've got the only thing that would stop me, I think, is if Apple pulled the plug on it. But even then, it would still carry on working. You'd probably have to wrench me off it, to the point where I'm holding on to it for dear life, because it just works. It just works. Although you're saying, Jakob, it's next level, it may well be. And I know they've built a lot. The one thing that I am a little bit jealous of with Premiere is, and Niall has just joined. He's a Premiere user, so I have to be careful what I say. But one thing I am a bit jealous of with Premiere is all of the AI stuff that's built into it. The one thing that Apple has fallen massively behind on in all sorts of areas, but particularly when it comes to video editing, is AI. There's nothing really built into Final Cut Pro apart from voice isolation, which uses machine learning to isolate your voice, obviously, and get rid of background noise. That's AI-ish. That's it. There's nothing else built into it. And I know you get that on Premiere. I'm not changing. You can't convince me, I'm afraid, Jakob. It's not going to happen. As Niall says, he's a Premiere Pro man, but admittedly spends most of his time in After Effects. Yeah. So I mean, After Effects, I have no skills in After Effects at all. So, but I appreciate that is a big part of the Premiere family, if you like. James, do you envision 8K workflows ever becoming the norm for creators? Well, it is for some creators. MKBHD has been editing in 8K and shooting in 8K for a long time, hasn't he? It depends. I mean, the only benefit 8K offers really is loads of cropping ability, massive cropping ability. You could crop in very, very quick, very, very far. That isn't of any use to me whatsoever. 4K is enough for me in terms of image quality and croppability. It's great. I don't feel the need for it. And also, no one watches stuff in 8K. No, not. Do you know anyone who's got an 8K TV that, and if they have, that they actually watch 8K content on? We're a long way away from that being any kind of standard for normal human beings like myself. So I think I don't think I personally don't think there's any benefits to 8K at all. I think 4K is going to be as it is for quite a while. There may be alternative opinions, but I'd love to hear them. But that's my opinion. Callum, you know that I love Notion, but what else is an important tool for you with creating content? You mentioned loving processes. vidIQ comes to mind as an example. So vidIQ does play a very important role in this business. vidIQ, for those who aren't aware, it's a suite of tools which link in with your YouTube Studio account. And it helps. I use it. We use it very basically. It's used to generate tag ideas, and that's about it. The only other thing I use it for is looking at when the best time to publish videos. It gives you an idea of when your audience is most likely to jump onto a video. That's quite handy. But there's loads of stuff built into it, loads of AI features. Coming up with it helps you generate thumbnail ideas and title ideas and competitor research, etc. Very powerful tool, but we don't use it enough. We probably should, to be honest. In terms of other tools that I'm really important for me, apart from Notion, I'm just looking at my list of apps below at the moment. Probably the biggest one is Ulysses, because everything, as you may know, starts life as a blog post for me. Everything starts life as something being written, and everything I write goes into Ulysses, which is for me the best writing tool, the best distraction-free writing tool I've ever used. It's utterly brilliant. So that's definitely up there. Logic Pro is used to a degree. That's an audio editing, audio suite, or DAW, as it's DAW as it's known. That's used not a huge amount, but a fair amount for some audio production stuff. What else do I use? Lightroom. Couldn't live without Lightroom. Most of the thumbnails that I do myself, I don't do all of them these days, but the ones that I do are taken with a camera. I do it the old-fashioned way. I take a raw photo, stick it into Lightroom, and tweak it to my heart's content. And Lightroom's it's brilliant for that. What else do I use that's particular? All sorts of little tools I use. Text expander is so useful. The ability to call up snippets of text without typing them in each time, like YouTube descriptions and URLs and things, and sponsor links and stuff, saves so much time. It's unbelievable. And TickTick, and that's another thing. I couldn't live without TickTick. That is the to-do list app that I use. Not sponsored by any of these, by the way. But yeah, TickTick is my preferred to-do list manager, basically. There's loads of other things that I've probably forgotten as well, but those are the ones that are very, very useful. Martin says, prefer made by human. I guess that's in relation to AI. Martin, I'm glad to hear that. That's nice. Jakob says 8K is great when you're cropping, and same with 6K. It is, but I just don't know how much you'd need to crop, really. Again, this is very specific to me. If I'm doing a role like this, talking to camera, I might crop in occasionally to kind of hide edits or edit points or hard cuts. But 4K is enough still. I don't need all that data. I don't need all those pixels. Might be different for other people potentially, but yeah, that's the way it works for me. So Alan says that you've just started using CapCut and you found it excellent, plus Opus Clips. I think we've used Opus Clips in this business before, which is, I think, the one where you can basically feed it a 16:9 widescreen video, and it will reframe it and turn it into a bunch of shorts for you, vertical shorts. I think that's what Opus is. That was very good. No, it wasn't bad when we used it. I've never used CapCut before. Niall, do we use CapCut? I have no idea. I don't think we do. But I know that's another way to do certain things like that. Yeah, I'm very old-fashioned with editing, as you can probably tell. That's why I get other people to do a lot of it. Let's have a look. What other questions have we got here? Jakob and Martin are having a nice little conversation there. I won't get involved in that. Any other questions, guys? Have I missed any in here? Have I missed any a bit further up? We're getting some good numbers on these live streams, guys. I really appreciate you joining. I know it's a Friday. Fridays aren't always the best days for people. I appreciate that. But I do appreciate you coming on. It's all good stuff. There's a really big conversation going on here between. Do I need to jump into this conversation between Martin and Jakob? Let's have a look. Jakob's saying he's a professional programmer and amateur content creator. I won't get involved in that conversation. Here we go. Martin, who would you most like to interview and why? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? That's a really good question. Who would I most like to interview and why? Oh, God. I think I'd love to interview Justin Hawkins. That might come as a bit of a surprise. If you're not aware, Justin Hawkins is he's the frontman from The Darkness, which is a rock band from the UK, famous for I Believe in a Thing Called Love and a very famous Christmas song, but that's not all they do. They've got a very big fan base and a very loyal fan base, and he's a brilliant guitarist and an amazing frontman. But he's also a YouTuber. Go and check him out. Just search for Justin Hawkins. It's called Justin Hawkins Rides Again is his channel name. And it's just him, really, to say it's him sitting there reacting to new music. So he watches a new record, a new release, a new single, and talks about it. And he uses his musical expertise to play along and work out what the arrangement is and what the chord structures are and stuff. But he also uses his humor to comment on it. He's very funny, but also his experience in the music industry. So he can relate to the person, and he can kind of he talks about it in a way that most of us guys couldn't do because we don't have his experience. But he's very engaging, and he's built a massive following. I think he's got nearly 500,000 subs now. His videos do 70, 80K regularly. He's doing really well. But I'd love to know, because he never really talks about himself as a content creator, and doing this myself, I'd love to know how he feels about that, and also if he experiences the same things that I do and other content creators do. There's a few things that he has mentioned. He's mentioned recently about the challenge of spending a lot of time on a video that you're really proud of, only to see it tank, whereas a video that you're not as proud of and you've kind of pulled out your backside performs amazingly. That classic thing that happens on YouTube. It's nice to know he's got that as well, but I'd love to know other stuff about him. So he for some reason he came to mind immediately, Martin. I'd love to have a chat with him. Probably won't ever happen, but if you're watching this, Justin, which you're not, but if you are, by some absolute miracle, get in touch. David, you missed my explanation of RAR and we're back to RAR files. I won't get back into that, but that was great. Fish Finger Reaper, do you keep all of your used footage once the video goes live? No. So the only footage that I keep is B-roll. So if I shoot B-roll, for instance, of this phone, I'll keep that, particularly if it's a phone like this, which could potentially be, I might feature again, or it's very likely that I'll feature again in the future. So I keep the B-roll because it's very useful to be able to dig back into that and get it out. But everything else, A-roll, no need to keep that whatsoever. The entire Final Cut Pro project gets deleted. I keep it for a day or two afterwards, just in case. You never know. Just a superstitious thing. I've never needed to go back to it. But yeah, the entire project gets deleted. Normally I don't really care about that, but sometimes it can be a bit. The worst one was when I'd finished the Porsche Taycan video edit. If you've not seen that before, by the way, I'm very proud of that video. It's not the best performing video on this channel at all, but going back to what I said a moment ago, but I'm very proud of the production and the edit as well. In particular, the edit was all me. The B-roll was shot by another couple of guys, but the edit was yours truly, and I'm very proud of it. And as you can imagine, that timeline in Final Cut Pro was pretty significant. There was all sorts of stuff going on. It looked quite impressive. And when it came to, I left it for ages because I just thought, I don't want to delete that, all that hard work. but it's just it's one of those things you just have to get. There's no need for it. Again, process, efficiency. Are you ever going to go back to that Final Cut Pro project? Probably not. Are you going to go back to B-roll? Possibly. Would you want to have to film all the stuff of this again? No, you wouldn't. So keep B-roll, stick it on a NAS somewhere, and keep it safe. But yeah, everything else gets dumped basically. Jakob, you're on the way to 3,000 followers on Medium and also here. Any tips for growth? Medium, I don't have any tips for growth on there at the moment because I think it's really hanging in the balance at the moment in terms of the way that platform is running and being run. So all bets are off on Medium at the moment. Yeah, sorry, Jakob. I think you know the score with that though. Fishfinger Reaper says, you saw Justin Hawkins recently while shopping in my local Nike store. Amazing. Did you go and speak to him? I think I'd be a little bit too starstruck, actually, if I saw him. I think I would be. Have you ever been asked to sponsor a product service? Oh, interesting. I guess you mean me sponsor something. No. Have I? No, not really. Not that I can think of. No, I don't think I'd offer much value as a sponsor, really. Would I? Oh, no. Take that the other way around. I'm not sure what value I would gain as being a sponsor for something. The only chance of this happening, which might happen, is one of my products sponsoring one of my videos, which isn't illegal. You can do this. You'll see lots of other content creators do this, where they launch a product and they sponsor their own video. How that works monetary wise, I'm not sure, because it's all the same money, isn't it? But I might be doing that with the Creator Academy. That may be sponsoring a video on Mark Ellis reviews in December. But yeah, I've never been asked to do that. I don't think I will be, if I'm being totally honest, James. Fishfinger Reaper. We're still talking about Justin Hawkins. I should speak to his content producer. She's really good. She is great. She's on his podcast actually. She does the kind of interviewing thing where she really she holds him accountable and asks him some really good questions and does it in such a soft but meaningful way. She's a brilliant interviewer, and she used to work, I think, with I know she used to work with a particular comedian from the UK who has had a few issues this year. A certain guy with it's Russell Brand. I don't know why I'm skirting around it. She used to work with Russell Brand before all of the controversy came out. We won't get into that. Martin, you have numerous case sponsors, but which one is the best and does it cause real conflict? That's a great question. It's also tech-based, but I'll let you off, Martin. It's fine because it's kind of sponsor-related. This is kind of a content creator question. When you say conflict, I'm guessing, do you mean conflict between the brands, possibly? If that's the question, it doesn't cause any conflict at all. As long as they don't feature in the same video, they don't care. They just want their moment in the spotlight. That's it. If I had to pick one case manufacturer, who knows if they'll be watching this, I think it would be Pitaka, which is what I've got on here at the moment, actually. Pitaka is this case here. Again, this isn't sponsored, this video, by them, but they are a sponsor on Mark Ellis Reviews. There's just something about the thinness of this. But I only work with case manufacturers who I like, know, and trust, as always, and I like their products. So they're all very good. But if I could only take one with me to a desert island, it would probably be the Pitaka, I think, to be honest. No mech yet, Mark. Well, I'm not sure what that meant, Martin, but no mech yet. What does that mean? Tell me what that means. Right, guys, we're pretty much there. I'm doing daddy daycare tonight because my girlfriend is having a much needed night out. Luxury's here. Hi, Luxury. Again, some brilliant usernames. I always look at other people's usernames on everything, but particularly on YouTube, and I just feel a bit jealous because mine's a bit boring. It's just Mark Ellis Reviews. It's my name, isn't it? It's just my brand name. Merchandise, merch. No merch yet. No, but there will be at some point, at some stage. I'm not convinced. Again, I'd love to have merch to give to people who follow me for a long time and seem to really want it. I know there's quite a few people out there who do seem to. But again, putting my business hat on, I've seen lots of merch kind of ideas from other creators fall by the wayside. In fact, most of them, a lot of much bigger channels than me try this stuff where they have, hoodies and or branded notebooks or whatever. And most of them seem to can the project, which suggests to me it's not particularly profitable, which does bother me. But maybe, who knows? Who knows? You can support. That's very kind of you, Martin. Thank you. I might take you up on that. Who knows? David, you'd love to see me review mouse phone cases. Nearly worked with them once, and for some reason it didn't come off. Can't remember why. And also, I need to be careful. I can't have too many case manufacturers sponsoring the channel. It gets a bit strange then, no matter how good they all are. So yeah, I have to be careful with that. Luxury, what are your thoughts on X as a platform? If you could very briefly, I know you're about to wrap up. What are my thoughts on X as a platform? I like it. I don't know if this is. I know it's not a popular opinion based on the chap at the helm, but putting him to one side, which I can do. He's not. He's not. Doesn't get in the way of me using it. I've built a kind of bunch of followers and a following that I enjoy engaging with. That's the whole point of these platforms. You want to open that app on your phone and enjoy what you see. Learn stuff and have a laugh and interact with people that you know and you like. And that's my X little world now. And it's I stopped using Facebook over 2 years ago. It's not been on my phone for over 2 years. Don't miss it whatsoever. But Instagram and X and TikTok as well, actually, all three of them, I've built this little world and I like going into it. I like digesting the content and meeting the people on there and speaking to them. So an X just falls into that bracket, I think. As a creator, I'm quite excited about what it could mean in terms of video stuff and longer form content, but I've not really put much effort into it yet. I think maybe next year that will be a strategy that I try and dig into a bit more. I can give you a bit more, bit more feedback on what I think about that. But as a consumer of content, I love it. I really do. Sorry for people that don't. Right, guys, I am going to have to shoot. I just want to see if there's any more questions that I've missed. No, I think if I have missed a question, I do. I do apologize if I've missed your question. But thanks, guys, for joining. Thanks for watching this in the future if you have. And again, if you haven't checked out the Creator Academy, the link is below. And if you've got any questions about it, you can ask me about it on these live streams, or you can join the free Discord server as well, which, again, we're getting new members every day, which is great. It's completely free. It's a little area of the internet where you can privately chat with other people about this stuff. And it's not about me at all. It's about this business, about this business of content creation. I want to build a thriving community there like I have with Markerless Reviews. That's the same thing. That's not about me at all. And it's a lovely community. The same thing seems to be happening with the Solo Club one. So get involved. There's a link down below. Right, guys, I'm going to leave you here and thank you for joining me. And I'll catch you. Oh, very quickly. I know I keep promising this AI topic. I didn't have time to prepare for it today, and that thing happened yesterday, which I wanted to talk about. So AI will happen at some point. I promise. We'll talk about it at some stage. Anyway, guys, cheers. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next week.